And a very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us. This is Easy Friday on this day, the 31st day of March, the last day of March. And March has been like one of the longest months. Many thanks for choosing us to inform you tonight. Riding solo, Shiksha Arora is away. A bit later, we'll be joined by DJ Cole Jax to just listen things a little bit. As he plays you great music, that's a bit later. But first things first, we need to bring you up to the news that's been shaping up. President William Ruto is accusing the opposition of following or using their constitution sparingly in their demonstrations, saying this is a big note to impunity. Well, on the other hand, opposition leader Raila Odinga is calling out foreign envoys, saying they're interfering with Kenya in the condemnation of those particular protests. Looking at those stories not too long, and an update on that accident that claimed 14 lives of Pwani University students. A bit later, we have the latest in business, sports as well. And today is Friday. We always bring you the savage netizen side of things, so that's all coming up. But first things first, here is an aerial view, or if you like, a bird's view of the Easy Friday tonight. These are the highlights.
It is my position that the Constitution did not envisage that different opinions would result in chaos or loss of property or loss of life.
All right, a big no to impunity. President William Ruto calls out the opposition over what he terms selective interpretation of the Constitution.
We want to tell them that democracy is democracy. There's no European democracy, American democracy, and African democracy. Democracy must be measured by the same standards universally.
All right, stop meddling in local politics. Opposition Chief Raila Odinga accuses foreign missions of partiality on matters democracy. And the rogue teachers of Nyamira, 4 arrested over caning gone wrong, leaving a 9-year-old pupil nursing serious injuries in Nyamira. All right, good evening. Welcome to Easy Friday tonight. My name is John Kago. President William Ruto accused the opposition of applying the Constitution sparingly. The head of state says his administration will not condone impunity. Now, these are remarks echoed by his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, who said the Constitution does not allow for destruction of property. Timothy Kipnuso has more details on this.
Speaking during the launch of Public Service Commission Values and Principles Compliance Report in Nairobi, the head of state says the weekly protests by the Azimio coalition are clawing back the gains that the country has made.
It is my position that the Constitution did not envisage that different opinions would result in chaos or loss of property or loss of life. We must, all of us, be able to celebrate all the rights provided for in our Constitution in a manner that respects the rights of others, and also in a manner that does not destroy property or in a manner that does not make our children not go to school. I think we can do that. We are mature enough to be able to do that. And I hope that all of us will begin to understand where we must go.
President Ruto regretted the destruction of property and loss of life during the protest and eyed the Azimio leader to put to an end what he termed as impunity. He said impunity will not dictate Kenya's political discourse as the country is a respecter of the rule of law.
We are a robust democracy. We believe in the rule of law, and it is my contention that the Constitution, even as it provided for us to have divergent opinions, and we should. In fact, something would be very wrong with us if we agreed on everything all the time.
remarks that were echoed by his Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who said the Supreme Court certified the August polls as open and democratically sound. He maintained there will be no talks with the opposition over the purported political impasse.
President William Ruto took the Bible before God and before man in Kasarani and swore to protect the Constitution. Those who are asking him to violate that Constitution are being unfair to him. There is no constitutional provision in our Constitution for a handshake arrangement.
Their remarks come just a day after police repulsed Azimio protesters at Kware in Pipeline, Embakasi South, with Raila claiming that there was a plot to assassinate him during the protest.
All right, now Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo now says demonstrations in Kisumu are disruptive and are hurting the economy of the lakeside city. Owalo has called on demonstrators to exercise caution and protect the glory of the city. This even as the Interior Ministry condemned Thursday's attack on journalists, police and looting of property during those demonstrations by a section of Kenyans.
The Cabinet Secretary, ICT and Digital Economy, while calling on communities in Nyanza to throw their weight behind President Ruto's administration, discouraged the demonstrations, claiming they were bad for investment in the lakeside city.
Kwenda kwa maandamano hiyo tuwache, hiyo itatuumiza kama watu wa eneo hii. Kwa maana investors watatoroka, wafanyabiashara watapoteza mali yao.
Owalo, who spoke in Migori, called on area residents to shun demonstrations and seek to foster development by ensuring the region is stable politically.
Serikali ni moja ikiongozwa na Rais William Samoei Ruto. Hakuna uchaguzi mwingine ambayo itafanyika hapa katikati mpaka 2027. Kwa hivyo tufanye na hii serikali ya sasa, hii ya Ruto hii. Tusingoje serikali nyingine huko mbele, hapana. Tufanye kazi na hii serikali ya sasa. Hii ndio serikali yetu.
ODM, they have been saying and going around recklessly telling people, oh, Nyanza has been abandoned, nobody has been picked and we are taxpayers. Here I am! nuclear kwa mkono yangu.
Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo has in the meantime condemned the attack on journalists and police, as well as the destruction of property during the Thursday demonstrations. P.S. Omolo, while vowing to take action on those involved in the bloody demonstrations, assured Kenyans and visitors the government was in charge.
What we insist on is that we will follow the law. Where there have been transgressions, we expect the police to do what they are supposed to do. People need to be arraigned in court. In short, we expect to follow the law.
Omolo has also cautioned the media against fanning violence, as there was clear evidence that the demonstrations were not peaceful.
There needs to be the restraint on part of the police officers, but also on the side of journalists or generally or the rest of Kenyans, is that there needs to be certain level of precautions we take, whether it's in terms of identification.
We are not going to accept destruction of property in the name of Mandamanos. I think it should be very clear.
This even as political and religious leaders continued to call for sobriety and the ceasing of the demonstrations, which they term as harmful to the already battered economy.
Na mimi nawasihi wale ambao wanaongoza mambo ya kwenda kulete funjo everywhere in this country, naomba wapatie president wetu time.
The Supreme Court should summon Kioni and give evidence on the figures he has read. And if he cannot be able to do it at the Supreme Court, I wish he can be taken to ICC. If on Monday they continue the demonstration, these people should be arrested.
Tunataka kupiganisha watu, tunataka watu pamoja, uhuru ni mtu yetu, na vile tunataka ukomea ni wale watu waliingia kwa shamba yake.
If there is any resurgence of the truth, it should be addressed more amicably through the process, or the political process, or through the parliament.
We would like to urge all leaders to truly mind the peace of our nation and be careful with the statements that they issue.
John Jacob Curia, Easy Friday.
Well, now, Opposition Chief Raila Odinga has lashed out at a section of envoys for what he says is meddling in local politics. Raila took issue with the American ambassador for declaring the last general poll free and fair and claimed the envoy was applying double standards on the parameters used to gauge democracy in Africa and in America. Raila spoke at the barrio of Grace Onyango, the first female mayor in the East Africa region. Achola Simon has more details.
Mama Grace Onyango was not only a councillor but also the chair of Education Committee in the Municipal Council.
The political class in Luo Nyanza gathered in Game constituency, Siaya County, to bid farewell to the daughter of the soil, a trailblazer, Mama Grace Onyango, the first female mayor in the East African region.
She vied for elective office when there were no networks of support. Women had not learned of how to stick together to push for elective office. She became a councillor, she became a mayor. She became the first woman MP, a deputy speaker, a secretary general of the Luo Council of Elders. She opened the way for us.
Mama Grace Onyango was eulogized as a mother, teacher and a great politician who broke the glass ceiling for many a woman politician. Opposition chief Raila Odinga would use the platform to lash out at foreign envoys in what he termed as double standards on the threshold of democracy.
You want to tell them that democracy is democracy. There's no European democracy, American democracy and African democracy. Democracy must be measured by the same standards universally.
Raila maintains that a credible and fair process must not be sacrificed at the altar of a foreign country's interest in development.
Democracy must precede development. That's why we are so surprised to see this diplomat completely turning a blind eye to violation of fundamental human rights in Kenya in the name of development. And most of them have the audacity to misrepresent facts in our country.
Other leaders warned against any attempt on Raila's life in the wake of claims that his vehicle was shot at 7 times during Thursday's mandamano.
If you touch Raila Amolo Odinga, I can tell you, you will regret the day you were born. You will regret the day you were born. And to the Kago, if you want us to trust you or to believe in you, in the same manner you are condemning those excesses against the media, you must also come out categorically and condemn the attempted murder against Raila. You, the international community, and the church.
The leaders also promising a mother of all demonstrations come Monday.
That we do not want lectures from our development partners. We must allow Kenyans to make a decision of their own. And we will continue to question. And we will say that we will demand that the servers must be open so that we can be able to interrogate the results in the servers.
I want to urge Kenyans everywhere, stand up for your rights. They are muzzling any protest in central Kenya. In my own backyard of Gishogo, young men gave notice to demonstrate. They took loads and loads of policemen. They cannot even allow them to come out. They're hounding them in their homes. In Meru, we saw the same thing because they would like us to believe that Baba has no following in those areas.
We as Kenyans who are in the struggle for the second liberation, and now we are in the third liberation, we must continue to be resolute and determined to defend our hard-gained independence and freedom. Are we together?
Mama Grace Onyango leaves behind several children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Achola Simon is Friday.
Now, President William Ruto now says retiring public servants must not cling to their jobs upon attaining the retirement age of 60 as stipulated in the law. The President, who spoke while launching Public Service Commission Values and Principles Compliance Report here in Nairobi, said young graduates must be accorded opportunities to serve the nation. At the same time, the head of state revealed that the Public Service Commission cohorts will increase from 3,900 this year to 20,000 next year.
President William Ruto now says the Public Service Commission will recruit 20,000 interns in the next cohorts in efforts to ensure thousands of graduates acquire work experience and contribute to the transforming of the public service sector.
We have today 3,900 interns. The next intake, next year, I will suggest that we start with 20,000.
As a way of increasing youth presentation in public service relative to their population, the Ministry of Public Service will continue working with the Public Service Commission to review policies and practices for diverse and inclusion, human resource development and succession management.
President Ruto, who made the announcement while launching the PSC Values and Principles Report of 2021 and 2022, also noted that public servants who have since attained the retirement age must retire as per the law.
I mean, if you have reached retirement age and you have not done what you should have done, it cannot be an excuse. You just need to pack your small bags, move on, so that the others can also move up. And it is our policy decision that we respect our elders, and those who have served and have reached retirement age should not be bothered for a day longer with any other responsibility.
The government saying it was committed to delivering its pledges to Kenyans, calling for a purpose-driven PSC in line with the government.
If we are to deliver on the transformational agenda, we must begin by transforming our public service to make it more responsive to the needs of all our citizens.
We want to ask our public servants to make it easy for Kenyans to do business, to encourage business people, to encourage entrepreneurs, to process their licenses and whatever else they need from your offices so that they can create business and enhance investment in this country.
As the government moves to increase the budgetary allocation for the Public Service Commission, President William Ruto says public servants must adapt to the ever-evolving dynamic world to enhance achievement of the government's transformative agenda. For Easy Friday, I'm Gladys Mungai.
All right, now the Pwani University Administration now says it has established that a total of 11 members from the facility died during the Thursday's accident which occurred along the Nakuru-Naivasha highway. Among those dead, its students and 3 university staff, now led by its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Mohammed Rajab. They say the accident had robbed them an important part of their community, from which they will never be able to recover.
A somber mood engulfed Pwani University in Mombasa on Thursday when news of the fatal accident reached the college. Speaking during a county security delegation meeting, the university administration said 8 students are recuperating in the ICU at Kenyatta National Hospital, as 21 are under close monitoring at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital and 2 in Nakuru Hospital.
Most of the students are being attended to at Naivasha Level 4, as the VC has said. Some are in different hospitals, others in Longonot Hospital, and as the VC has said, some were transported to Kenyatta National Hospital for specialized treatment.
74 students who were in the other bus were ferried to Egerton University and are currently undergoing counseling.
Now, so far, we've lost 8 students and 3 members of staff. And about 8 or so students are not in very good condition, and they're in Kenyatta National Hospital. Some of them are in ICU.
Students from Pwani University are now seeking answers following the tragic university bus accident.
It's pending that kila picha unaona inawekwa kwa status that rest in peace. Ni rafiki zako wenye mmekaa nao hapa, mnaongea na wao, mnacheza na wao, mnafanya kila kitu na wao. Mimi kitu naweza request ni kwamba national government iangalie sana hasa hii mambo ya insurance za bus za universities and high schools. Maintenance is very poor.
Jumbe wetu kwa wanafunzi, wazazi na hata taifa ni kwamba tuna ushirikiano, kwamba tuone walio katika hospitali wametibiwa na kutoka, tukiendelea na mipango na ambavyo yale mazishi na wale wamekufa itakavyoendelea.
The death toll from Thursday's accident involving a Pwani University bus and a matatu has risen to 17. This is after 3 more people died while receiving treatment at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital.
Quick recovery to those in hospital and condolences to those that lost their loved ones. All right, now let's over to Nyamira County where a 9-year-old pupil at Riangombe Boarding Primary School in Borabu Sub-County has been left nursing serious injuries after he was caned by his teacher for failing to wear the right school uniform. The boy suffered serious injuries. Now this is despite corporal punishment being banned in learning institutions here in Kenya. The child's parents are now seeking justice. The teacher is still at large.
The cry of a mother in pain. A mother who could not fight back her tears as she watched her 9-year-old son struggle to walk. It is alleged that the boy was severely beaten by the teacher on duty at Riangombe Boarding Primary School in Borabu Sub-County, where he sustained serious injuries. The teacher's reason: the 9-year-old boy was not wearing the right school uniform. The incident is said to have been hidden from the parents until they got wind of the incident from a Good Samaritan about the assaulted child who had been confined in the dormitory for 5 days.
Tuesday jioni watoto walikuwa wanakuja hapa kucheza mchezo. Sasa mtoto kuna ango yake anaendesha pikipiki. Anapenda kwa hao watoto wa brada yake. Sasa akajaribu kupita kwa na pikipiki ndio mtoto amuone aweze kumnunulia chochote, hata maji hata kasoda. Hakuona mtoto. Akasunguka hakuona mtoto. Kuna mtoto wa jirani pale Ronge akaona huyu ango yake. Akamuita. Akaambiwa, nimeambiwa na Titus nikipata mtu yote wa kwao nimwambie ako hali mbaya. Na achiwezi na atembei achiwezi.
We met the child and parent at Manga Police Station, where they were processing a P3 form to facilitate launching of a formal complaint. Confirming the incident, Area County Police Commander James Mituga said they have arrested 4 suspects who included the head teacher, his deputy, class teacher and caregiver as accomplices. The main suspect, who is the teacher on duty, is still at large.
They knew what they have done and they had kept quiet. So it's like they were trying to cover up the whole issue. So we are still investigating and eventually we will take those responsible to court.
Caroline Nyaboke, the child's mother and grandfather, now want justice for their child.
Nimetravel from Nairobi na mtoto wa mwezi mmoja mpaka hapa. Na mtoto namsomesha kwa ugumu, sio niko nayo kwa ugumu. Sasa mimi wacha nikwambie, sijui sasa maisha yangu itakuwaje. Na huyu mtoto wangu ndio first born wangu. Sasa anatembea kama kiwete. Sina chochote.
Hii mwalimu anapiga mtoto kama nyangao. Hii mwalimu yuko na maana gani?
Corporal punishment is unlawful in schools under the 2010 Constitution. The prohibition is confirmed in the Basic Education Act 2013.
I can imagine the thoughts questions that most of our viewers have tonight. You can share your thoughts on that and other stories that we're sharing tonight on our social media pages. That's like KBC Channel 1. We are taking our first break of the evening, and I need to mention this, a sign language interpreter, I didn't mention this at the beginning, is Anne Wangeshi. Still on the way, my culture, the savage netizens, business news, sports as well, DJ Cool Jacks, all that on the other side of the break. Don't go too far. We'll be back in a moment.
Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
To get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 as your skiza tune, dial *811 *967 hash.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6.
To get Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, dial *811 *967 hash. *811 *967 hash.
In the name of Jesus Christ, Mungu anatarajia ukanyange hatua mbele. Wengine wametawaliwa na uchawi, wakati wao umefika. Wewe umenitazama siku hii ya leo. Neema na kibali cha Bwana kikawe juu ya maisha yako.
This week on Your Health, we'll be talking about skincare, specifically hyperpigmentation. What is it all about? What causes it? And what are the treatment options?
I take care of my skin by first cleansing, and I also use a moisturizer.
We'll be talking to a skincare specialist who will be breaking down that for us.
When you do the laser treatment, immediately after the first 3 days, your skin actually turns a bit more darker because of the post effects of the laser. But in good time, the pigmentation will go away.
You do not want to miss the program here on KBC Channel 1.
No. Sometimes we just get ourselves into trouble without really knowing.
Without knowing? Excuse yourself, Nadia. How can someone just walk into somebody else's office, open the drawer, steal exam papers, and then saying he didn't know?
I felt maybe it was in Junju.
What, Juju?
Mister, it is the governor's office they are calling. Please tell her that I'm in a board meeting.
Tito, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. I can't.
See what you have done. Useless.
Oh, a second ago you were begging for my help and now suddenly I'm useless?
Wenda huko.
Nini?
Nimesahau kucheza Loto Moto. Usisahau kucheza Loto Moto. Shinda milioni 2 kila siku kwenye M-Pesa. Chagua lipa na M-Pesa. Paybill number 757070. Account number andika neno Loto. Kisha weka star na nambari yako ya simu. Weka kiwango chochote cha pesa kuanzia shilingi 50 hadi 2,000.
Aulali.
Lipa kisha subiri draw. Welala. Nitakutimizia ndoto zako. Milioni 2 usiamini. Ujumbe huu umeidhinishwa na BCLB.
Welcome back to Easy Friday. Thank you for choosing us to inform you tonight. Now, the Supreme Court of Kenya has ruled that Parliament has no mandate to vet an elected or nominated Judicial Service Commission member before their appointment. In the judgment by a 5-judge bench, the court further found a void in the JSC Act, donating the power to the President to appoint elected and nominated members of the JSC, saying it's inconsistent with the Constitution. Sarafina Robi has more of this on Scales of Justice tonight.
In a judgment by a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court, consisting of Justices Mohammed Ibrahim, Smokin Wanjala, Njoki Ndungu, Isaac Lenaula, and William Oko, the Supreme Court declared that there is no basis, constitutional or legal, for a member of the Judicial Service Commission, elected or nominated, to be vetted and approved by the National Assembly before the appointment. The judges ruled that only commissioners whom there is a constitutional obligation for vetting before appointment have to be approved by the National Assembly. The appeal was filed by the Law Society of Kenya. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has dismissed an appeal filed by former workers of the James Finley Kenya Limited seeking to have some of its farms located in Kericho inspected. The former workers wanted orders by the Scottish Court directing the inspection of James Finley premise in Tulet, Chomogonde Factory, Marini, Kaproret and Kapsongoi Kitumbe factory implemented. The orders had been issued on the 22nd of November 2018 and amended on the 18th of December 2018. Serafina Robi for Easy Friday.
All right, now 8 students are nursing serious injuries at Nanyuki Teaching and Referral Hospital after the bus they were traveling in overturned in the Burgeret area along Nyeri Nanyuki Highway. That happened earlier today. The students are from Marira Secondary School, Kigumo constituency in Murang'a County, were on board for an academic trip at Old Pejeta Conservancy in Nanyuki at the time of that particular accident. This and more stories in our County News Roundup. This brought to you by Frederick Parsail.
Confirming the incident, Laikipia County Director in charge of health, Dr. Wahenya Mwangi, said that 26 students had mild injuries and 8 with serious injuries. He further said the injured are being offered counseling services.
Tumeweza kuona 26 ambao wamepata majira rahisi ambao yameweza kuangaliwa na madaktari. Tunaendelea pia kuangalia wale wote wenye walikuwa kwa hilo gari wasiwe pengine wana majira mengine na wengine wanapata counseling.
In Narok County, a section of Kenya Kwanza legislators have vowed to revert the contentious Kedong Ranch back to the Maasai community.
Fuata haki ya watu wako mpaka watu wako warudishiwe shamba ya Kidong.
Shamba ni ya wala Maasai. Hatusemi kitu ingine. Watupatie haki yetu.
Speaking at Maweni, Mtwapa in Kilifi South during a title deed issuance exercise to more than 1,200 squatters, the ministry's cabinet secretary Zakaria Njeru said that he will ensure the squatters' menace becomes a thing of the past.
Kwa hivyo hapa tumeanza na mahali kote kwingine ambapo kuna watu hasa squatters ambao wako huko na wameishi miaka mingi na wajawahi pata haki miliki kama serikali kuu.
In Uasin Gishu, the public has been called upon to prioritize planting more trees in order to increase forest cover from the 12% to 30%.
Kwa hivi sasa tunawaomba na kuwahimiza ya kwamba wale ambao wako na mashamba makubwa na nafasi ambazo ziko waweze kupanda miti inayostahili.
Frederick Parsayo, Easy Friday.
All right, now the Monday and Thursday opposition Mandamano provided good fodder for savage netizens this week. Have you been following that? Now, the reality check by the keyboard warriors would turn out to be an ugly reality, as Teresa Motai realized from the horse's mouth. These are the savage netizens.
Last week, peace was a bitter portion netizens were not willing to take. This week, the case is quite different. Why? Let's find out.
Today, I open with Simon's tweet that captures the new official Kenyan calendar. Monday, maandamano. Tuesday, healing. Wednesday, resting. Thursday, maandamano. Friday, resting. Saturday, visiting those beaten at the hospital. Sunday, praying for the new week. May God have mercy upon us. Where? Just what exactly transpired this week? Some Kenyans invaded the Northlands na wakapita na kondoo. Koech, posting a video of people carrying the sheep, tweeted, "These guys are daring. Hawaogopi cameras?"
No.
Ali, assuming how the sheep might be conversing, tweeted, "You guy, my guy, we are no longer at Muigai's." Mind blower, hizo wizi ndogo ndogo hatufai kukondon. Omwami curiously, where are they being shipped to?
Go and ask your grandfather.
Jeffe, concluding on the matter, tweeted, "My condolences to these innocent animals caught in a political war." You would think stealing the sheep was just it, but no. The gate crushers went on to subdivide the land and constructed some structures.
Allah!
Sang puzzled asked, "Kenyans, yani mtu aliamka akaenda kununua mabati akaenda kutengeneza kibanda kwa wenyewe?" Albert tweeted, "Whoever came up with this structure is very hopeful in life." On a serious note though, this may be an easy Friday, but nothing about this week has been easy. So I intend to pose a series of questions raised by netizens.
Look at you.
Let's start with Juma, who captured a video of protesters in Jamhuri stealing from fellow civilians and damaging property. She tweeted, "This is now looting, which makes the peaceful protest lose meaning." A series of other videos showing property being damaged, business people lamenting losses.
Nenda wapi? Nenda wapi mimi? Nitaenda wapi? Niko na watoto, niko na family, nitaenda wapi mimi sasa, nitaenda wapi?
Public property being destroyed. Journalists caught in the crossfire have since then surfaced. Don tweeted, "People should start doing a thread of aftermath of these demos so that we can uncover the extent of damages to people's lives and property." Santana, "Things are getting out of hand, and at the end of it all, we Kenyans are the ones going to suffer the consequences of the damage caused. Situache tu wanasiasa wapigane vita zao kivyao." Jack, "Enough is enough. This madness must stop. The government and opposition must talk, and the only handshake Kenyans need is a peaceful country." Kenyan Wandering tweeted, "And this maandamano is to go on for a while?" Well, Kenyan, I think Kushman is better placed to answer these questions because he already has the answer. Kushman, shall we?
Kesho kuna maandamano, si tunaweza andamana hadi kwangu, tujifiche where nobody can hear us, kule matiagas.
That's it for us. Catch you next week on Savage Netizens. For Easy Friday, I am Teresa Mutai.
A good piece there, Teresa Mutai, every Friday, as we look at what gives fodder to the savage netizens. Also, every Friday, we look at different cultures in Kenya. We call it My Culture. Now, the history between the Oman and Kenya dates back to the 17th century when Mombasa, just like many other coastal towns, were ruled by the Sultan of Oman. Now, it is during this time that the Oman established long-distance trade in East Africa, therefore interacting with local communities. Now, this week on My Culture, we focus rather traces of the Omani traditions and culture and the efforts to preserve the same.
National Museums of Kenya, an initiative aimed at conserving the history and cultural heritage of the Oman, East Africa, has been launched. The initiative aims at creating awareness about a historic gallery at the museum focusing on the spread of Islam along the East African coast, the emergence of the Swahili people, and culture through kinship across centuries, impacting all aspects of life and the development of Mombasa and other trade centers in Kenya.
Back to the history, where the maritime trade was quite key, and they would always come with items, sell to the locals and exchange. Of course, there was barter trade during that time. And so most of the items that remained here and the cultures that remained here are still living. So it is going to be very important for us to really preserve that culture for our future generations.
In the past, various communities inhabited the East African coast and the hinterland. The communities involved themselves in the trade of goods that were exported to other continents. Kushites were considered the first immigrants into East Africa. Kushites, hunters and gatherers, and Bantus interacted with the Omani traders. Spearheaded by the National Museums of Kenya in conjunction with the Sultanate of Oman, the exhibition depicts and displays various artifacts, tools including stones and obsidian, traditional regalia, daggers, cutlass, equipment such as coconut milk strainer and a coconut grater, wood and bow games, the Holy Book Quran, as well as other books, lithographs of key personalities, as well as information highlighting various aspects of the Kenya-Oman cultural heritage.
Settlement of the people in the coast have had a lot of influences from the Omani Arab, such that you find that most of their culture will take you to Omani. Let's look at the foods that they take, the biryanis, the pilaus, the attire. Most of it has been influenced by the Omani Arabs. The furniture that you have in the houses, the carved doors, several items that you'll find in a Swahili house will relate to the Omani.
Elders say it is paramount to educate the youth and future generations of their heritage.
That importance, that urgency of us making sure that they understand what our culture is, and not necessarily the culture of where they come from, but at least a diversity of culture in our cosmopolitan towns. The Giriamas, the Kikuyus, the Taitas, the Mijikenda, that kind of culture that will really work in a society.
These even as they held the move and reiterated on the need to establish more historic galleries and exhibition aimed at preserving culture and heritage.
It is always good to capture their interests and make sure that we are imparting some knowledge that is all heritage, and they'll be interested in it. We are also looking at using technology to be able to develop, like the youth can develop some apps that will really be interesting to young kids or growing up generations.
Jackie Wambiru, My Culture.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.
I want to take this opportunity to invite Kenyans to the Connected Summit that we will be hosting in Diani at the coast this coming week. This is an integral forum that enables all integral stakeholders within the ICT industry to come together so that as members of the ICT fraternity, we determine the challenges that we are facing, the opportunities available, and the necessary interventions that we need to introduce to facilitate optimal uptake of the opportunities available for us as a country.
Wacha nipelekwe tua na my daughter. Lakini si hizi nyumba tu zinakaa tu za ushago. Kwanza hata mabati hizi si ni ushago.
Niko safe ama unataka kusettle all scores?
Akili, malipo ni hapa duniani.
Sawa na wewe msoro, busybody. Na kwako kuna chomeka pole pole. Mosmos.
I can see why she likes you.
You are too smart to be a house help.
But too broke to finish school.
Mwanaume mzima umpatie 50 by 100. Hiyo haiwezekani. Jabali anakuja huku over my dead body.
Dada amenipatia nini?
A whole house.
Nyumba peke yake.
Niko serve nini?
Niletee chai na mkate na tumayai. Na mayai zenyewe upike macho.
Kupata maisha kama sikiza tune yako, bonyeza *811 *816#.
Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani.
Kupata maisha, bonyeza *811 *816#. *811 *816#.
All right, now let's speak business. The Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization says farmers could potentially halve their fertilizer use if they test the soil's acidity and lime their land in good time. The organization's director, Esther Kikonyo, says 60% of agricultural land in high rainfall areas have high soil acidity, which has been negatively affecting yields.
Proper fertilizer choice and use has the potential to increase yields by over 300%. However, over time, this could strip the land of nutrients, giving the farmer less harvest each season. Agriculture researchers say over time, even crop rotation would not revive soil, and liming would be the best alternative.
The soils in this country that are in the high and medium rainfall areas have a problem of soil acidity. And therefore, if we are going to improve crop production and to achieve food security, we need to actually adopt liming as a technology.
Giving the soil vibrance for at least 3 years. Researchers say soil liming could be easily undertaken by the farmer themselves, provided they send samples for testing beforehand.
If there is anything we need to promote in this country, it is soil testing. Since we cannot manage what we do not know, it is only by testing the soils, we understand what soils contain, and then we will be able to manage them for increased productivity.
Those contributing factors which are reached, that is calcium and magnesium, then we can do modification through using manure and the other additives.
Ideally, land pH should range between 6.5 to 8. However, anything below 5.5 should be a cause of concern for any farmer.
In those extreme ranges of pH, optimum yield will not be achieved.
They say poor uptake by farmers is mostly caused by misinformation, and as such, makes them prone to abuse of fertilizer on already ailing land.
We require 4 bags of NPK, and therefore it becomes, it is not cost effective.
They assure farmers that with the adoption of good practices and biotechnology, even depressed rains would not heavily impact their expected harvests.
We take care of the issue of acidity, and therefore we can use DAP, because DAP seems to work best with our soils, because our soils are inherently low in phosphate.
As the rainy season is upon us, farmers are being advised to test their soil so that they can get optimum yields in order to make the most of the season. Hibak Said for Easy Friday.
All right, now I&M Group PLC has recorded 11.6 billion shillings in full-year net profit. That's a 34% increase that was driven by interest income. The lender has proposed a total dividend payout of 2 shillings and 25 cents per share. Reporter Nduta Mukami now samples some of the financial results announced by banks today.
I&M Group's net interest income rose by 10% to 23 billion shillings, while non-interest income increased by 46% to 12.7 billion shillings. On the other hand, the group's operating expenses increased by 19% to 16.1 billion shillings on account of completed and new capital investments supporting automation and the digital strategy.
As you have seen in our communications over the years, we have been ensuring that we invest in digital platforms. So our omni-channel implementation, which we call On The Go, is really giving us the kind of digital penetration that we're looking for.
Meanwhile, HF Group bounced back from loss-making to record a full-year net profit of 256.7 million shillings that was mainly driven by growth in total operating income that rose to 28% to 3.04 billion shillings. Net interest income rose by 8% to 2.16 billion shillings, while non-funded income was up 63% to 880 million shillings. The listed has not proposed a dividend payout to shareholders.
Income is up 28%, mainly driven by non-funded income that has grown about 64%. We also have had a reduction in expenses, 14% reduction, although we have invested in quite a number of new technologies and new employees. And also profitability, as I said earlier, has gone up. So now we are seeing ourselves stumbling into profitability, 257 million profit, up from a loss of over 600 million the previous year.
And finally, Family Bank's full-year net profits reduced by 4%, driven by higher staff costs. The lender's staff costs steadily rose by a third to 3.4 billion shillings on account of aggressive staff training and poaching top-notch talent. Total operating expenses rose by 9.9% to 8.2 billion shillings, while operating income increased from 10.8 billion shillings to 11.9 billion shillings. Family Bank has recommended a total dividend of 62 cents per share. Nduta Mukami for Easy Friday.
All right, now Old Mutual Holdings has seen its full-year loss widen by 28.8% from 1.1 billion shillings to 1.4 billion shillings. This is due to higher income tax expense. The firm saw its income tax expense increase from 903 million shillings to 1.6 billion shillings, which pushed it further into losses.
COVID-19 pandemic affected investments, pushing Old Mutual Holdings into loss-making territory. In 2022, the situation worsened for the listed firm, which cites a challenging global economic environment characterized by high inflation, higher commodity prices, stronger dollar, and disruption of the international supply chains due to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. As a result, Old Mutual Holdings sank further into loss-making from a full-year net loss of 903 million shillings to 1.4 billion shillings.
We had about 4 loss-making businesses in 2021. We only have 2 loss-making businesses in 2022. So the short answer to that is that we turned around a lot of our loss-making businesses. We only have South Sudan now and Tanzania, which are still in loss territory.
Finance costs on borrowings rose 16% due to an increase in interest rates, as well as forex losses after the shilling weakened 9% to the greenback.
And we've also built some strong partnerships with our bank assurance partners in particular, that's seeing our revenue from bank assurance increasing year on year.
Gross written premiums increased 20.3% to 32.1 billion shillings, while total income rose 13% to 30.6 billion shillings. On the other hand, total expenses and commissions increased 18.7% to 11.9 billion shillings. Due to the increased losses, Old Mutual Holdings has again not recommended any dividend payout to shareholders.
Sports News is brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Kurumisha ndege.
Aviator instant game. Be a daring pilot and earn by how much high you can lift the plane. The higher you fly, the higher your win. The sky is the limit. Mozart Bet.
Secretary for Sports Jonathan Mweke has said that the country's fight against doping is taking the right direction. Mweke was speaking after receiving the report on the proposed strategy to fight the menace from the Athletics Kenya, the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, and the Athletic Integrity Unit.
In November 2022, Kenya was on the brink of being banned from athletics after 45 persons were sanctioned for anti-doping rule violations. World Athletics President Sebastian Coe held talks with the government and a task force comprising World Athletics, the Athletics Integrity Unit, Athletics Kenya, the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, and various government agencies were established to put in place a concrete plan to fight the menace. The task force today presented their report to the Principal Secretary for Sport, Jonathan Mweke, at the ministry's offices in Nairobi. The PS will forward to Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba the report for approval and immediate implementation.
We've deliberated it at length, and I believe that if that strategy is implemented like it has been briefed to us, then doping will be a thing of the past here in Kenya. We are committed as a government because this is a matter of national strategic interest.
Of course, we have looked at how the testing will be done, and that is going to definitely increase quite a lot. And I'm sure Brett will say a little bit of that. We have also talked about education, because this calls for a lot of education.
So we had a situation where there's a pyramid of runners. At the top, the runners are getting tested, but the big pyramid, people earning big money, no out-of-competition testing, okay? So this is creating a risky environment. It's an unregulated environment. We have a lot of money to be made, but no regulation. It's a recipe for disaster.
It is hoped that the implementation of the report will see Kenya dropped from the risky category A of nations. Reporting for Easy Friday, I am Daniel Wahome.
Thank you, Daniel Wahome, for that report. Moving on, the national sevens team Shujaa began their Hong Kong Sevens campaign with a 5-29 defeat to World Rugby Sevens Series leaders New Zealand in a Group D action at the Hong Kong Stadium. The Kenyan team will face Ireland in their second game on Saturday morning and then play South Africa in their last Group D match.
Wonderful stadium here in Hong Kong. The men's competition about to get started.
New Zealand landed 3 tries from Leroy Carter, Dylan Collier and Aholia Lokolisoa, with Garohi McGarvey Black and Rokolisoa adding conversions for a 19-minute lead.
He's got some space on the near side, and they'll have too much pace for Herman Humwa and Leroy. It's wet, it's raining here in Hong Kong, but the skills are still on show. Molia Rokolisoa and the hot stepper on the series right now, Akila.
Shujaa captain Nelson Oyo went over the whitewash to make it 19-5 at the break. Cody Vai and Rokolisoa landed 2 more tries to confirm the full-time score.
Alvin Otieno. Tanga's there, he's been busy. Anya through the hands to OU. They should score here, Kenya, and their captain is in. They deserved it.
The Kenyan team will face Ireland in their second game on Saturday morning and then play South Africa in their last Group D match. The team currently lies 13th in the standings with 29 points. New Zealand tops the standings with 120 points, 12 ahead of second place Argentina. France is third with 95 points.
Kenya, they have won this by 29 points to 5.
Thank you, Karanja, for that report. Moving on, the Mozart Bet Cup round of 16 matches will kick off on Saturday with an entertaining Afande derby pitting Kenya Police and Ulinzi FC at Kenyatta Stadium in Machakos. The winners of the competition will book a ticket to the CAF Confederation Cup.
The game will kick off at 3 p.m. and will be live on KBC Channel 1. At the same venue, Sofapaka will face FKF National Super League side Dorajani Kago. In other matches, Division 1 side Rainbow FC will face Tusker FC at Kasarani Annex, while Kakamega Homeboys will welcome league leaders Gor Mahia at Bukungu Stadium. On 2nd of April, KCB and Bidco will battle it out in an all-Premier League clash at Kasarani Annex at 3 p.m. in a game that will be televised live on KBC Channel 1. The winners of the competition will book a ticket to the CAF Confederation Cup. For Easy Friday Sports, I'm Daniel Mwendwa.
Thank you, Daniel Wonder, for that report. The World Kickboxing Federation of Kenya is set to hold its first event this April in Nairobi. The president of World Kickboxing Federation of Kenya, Takid Master, said the event, which will be known as the Hardcore Open, will involve kickboxers from Nairobi, Nakuru, Naivasha, Kisumu and Mombasa. Takid said that they had planned to have a title belt event next month, but has now been pushed to October this year. The event will attract boxers from Ghana, Tanzania, Uganda, USA, DRC, Australia and Cameroon.
I always tell people, because if you look at how kickboxing is, or UFC, or let me say MMA, you compare it to rugby, it's just the same thing. Yeah, if you don't risk, you won't get it.
The English Premier League matches will resume this weekend following a 2-week-long international break. Defending champions Manchester City and Liverpool will lock horns on Saturday at the Etihad Stadium in an early kick-off match.
Manchester City embark on an important stage in the Premier League, as Pep Guardiola's side will be keen to pick up from where they left off after putting together a strong run of form before the international break. Last season's top two are both chasing different targets, heading into the latter stages of this campaign, with the citizens seeking to close the gap between them and league leaders Arsenal and the Reds battling to make the top four. Elsewhere, Arsenal will take on a lead side that targets to retain their Premier League status. The Gunners rattled off 6 straight domestic victories before the international break to leave them 8 points clear at the top of the table with 10 games remaining. Two mid-table sides with an identical Premier League points tally after 27 matches lock horns at Stamford Bridge on Saturday evening as Chelsea plays host to Aston Villa. The Blues occupy the 10th spot following a 2-2 draw with Everton before the international break, while Villa is one place worse off thanks to a 3-0 success over Bournemouth.
And that report brings us to the end of the sports news tonight. Do enjoy your weekend ahead. My name is Karen Kibet. Don't go too far, as after this short break, my colleague John Kago will be back with more. Good night.
Sports News was brought to you by Mozart Bet.
Nafasi yako ya kuwa mdosi wako. Jiunge na washindi tufanye biashara. Kuwa mshindi. Mozart Bet.
All right, thank you so much, Karen Kibet, for that sporting update. A busy weekend it is. My best friend Samin Degwa, aka Samir Bryce, diehard of Manchester City, and he always has pressure when City is playing. Tomorrow they play Liverpool, hoping that they will beat Liverpool, and Arsenal will lose in the later kickoff. It's going to be an interesting day tomorrow. What are your predictions? All right, we'll have all the results of the day's games tomorrow on the Sporting Updates. Many thanks indeed for choosing us tonight. Coming up next is DJ Coljax. Bring you the best of funk and dance, so you got to stick around for that. As I mentioned, Sheikh Shara is not around for the spotlight, but you are in safest hands. That's DJ Coljax. Anwangeshi has been a sign language interpreter. My name is John Kago. On behalf of the whole team, good night. So long.
No. Unachua, sometimes we just get ourselves into trouble without really knowing.
Without knowing? Excuse yourself, Naya. How can someone just walk into somebody else's office, open the drawer, steal exam papers, and then saying he didn't know?
Haifala, maybe it was Njunju.
What, Juju?
Mister, it is the governor's office they are calling.